Welcome to Unity's Light and Life monthly podcast, your chance to sample the latest ideas, reflections and experiences coming out of our wonderful spiritual fellowship here in the UK. Our latest podcast is given by Paul Mapletoft, a talk on gratitude and prosperity, which was the highlight of our recent Sunday service. Paul deals with that sense of flow and abundance in life, which is not to do with material possessions, but to do with being truly present.
But if I think back to when I was a child, thanks seemed to mean something a bit different. Whenever anything was done for me or given to me, I had to say thank you. And if I didn't say thank you, I got a thick ear, or I got yelled at, or I had to give back whatever it was. So actually, this was what I was receiving actually wasn't giving, was it? What I was receiving was conditional. The other person gave me something and I had to say thank you back. Well, that's not giving. So to me, that wasn't really constituting gratitude on my behalf, because that's those feelings it was talking about. That wasn't what I was feeling. I was saying thank you because otherwise I'd get a thick ear. And I don't know whether you all had the same problem, but when I got presents, like I sort of got, a 2 and 6 postal order for my birthday. That's 12.5p. Not a lot of money. Then I had to write a thank you letter. And Kimry will know I'm usually a man of very few words from my emails. Thank you letters were, "Dear Auntie Barbara, thank you for the so-and-so. I also got blah, blah, blah." That was it. So I was never very good at expressing myself. And I remember when I was 11, doing the 11 plus. For those who aren't familiar, in my day you did an 11 plus, which was the exam you took to decide whether you went to grammar school or to secondary modern. And the arithmetic bit of it was easy, and I must have done well on it because I passed the thing. Because when it came to the essay writing, I was hopeless at essay writing. And it wasn't A4 in those days, it was something else. But if you imagine an A3 sheet folded over, so you've got 4 sides of A4, then that's what the exam paper looked like. And the front page was the title. The second page was the instructions and 3 or 4 subjects. And then you had this bit down here and then 2 pages to write on. And the only subject I could pick out from there that I could write about was my room. So I managed on this bit down here to write everything that was in my room. And I managed a sentence up there and I was done. That was it. So, I couldn't fill any more than that. I was no good at expressing. And that's important because I'm going to come back to it, this thing about expressing. Gratitude is something to do with demonstrating prosperity. It's associated with divine law, and it's associated with flow. Our consciousness, through some way, is affecting a flow that's in some way producing prosperity. So what is this thing, flow? And some people may know I've done a number of talks about this where I usually use PowerPoint and things, but I'm not going to do that this afternoon. What do I mean by flow? Everything is within us. It is all there. And all we have to do is enable and support that flow, and we generate our life experience. And we tend to do that, the way we kind of affect our consciousness is by affirmation of truth. By affirming truth, we affirm flow. We affirm our reality, we affirm our life experience. And it's key to remember that affirming truth does not make it true. It's true anyway. What we are doing in affirming truth is synchronizing our consciousness to what already is. So what we're actually doing is adjusting this mind magnet thing. I shouldn't do this because I'm not talking about brain really. Mind is more general than that. So we affirm truth, and we're synchronizing our consciousness. And that can also be thought of in terms of prayer. I did a talk once about, is life a prayer? And came to the conclusion that pretty much yes. So in affirming things, it's kind of prayer, because prayer is everything we're doing and thinking. Prayer is the highest experience of living life from within out. So this whole flow thing, prayer is the ultimate of that. I also did a talk about prosperity once, where we tried to define what prosperity is. what I came to the conclusion is that prosperity is a feeling. Prosperity isn't how much you have. It isn't how much you get. Prosperity is a feeling. If I feel prosperous, I am prosperous. If I don't feel prosperous, I'm not. And it doesn't matter what I have, how much it flows. If I don't feel prosperous, I'm not. So it is a feeling. And it's a feeling around having the consciousness of the flow of substance. So everything that flows from source is substance. What we do with it is up to us. But you could almost look upon substance as kind of like a beneficial, intelligent, large Duracell battery. It's the energy that flows through us, but it has got that benign quality, that compassion, that love. It's that constant flow. So that's kind of what substance is. And how do you make that flow? Well, I love the analogy of a tap. If I've got a tap, if this was America, it would be a faucet. If I've got a tap and I've got a flow of water to it, if I turn it on, it flows. Mm-hmm. But the water has to come out of the tap for anything to go in through the tap. So unless you can express, then you can't get. It doesn't work on a basis you get and then you express. It works on a basis you express and then you get. And the amount you get depends on how much you turn the tap on. And how much you turn the tap on depends on your consciousness. Your consciousness is affected by how much you affirm in affirming truth. So you can kind of see this sequence of how this works. And Proverbs puts this very nicely, for it says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. I am what I think I am." In the eyes of the perceiver, perception is reality. What we think we are is what we are. So if we think of ourselves as prosperous, if I think I'm prosperous, then I am prosperous. As I think in my heart, in my consciousness, so I am. And that all came back, as I said earlier, from an affirmation of truth. And Emerson said, gird yourself in incessant affirmations. Incessant. This isn't a one-off. This isn't a case of, if I do this once, that's it, great. This is all about, if I want that flow to happen, I've got to keep the tap open. I've got to keep working on my consciousness. I've got to keep affirming. I've got to be in that space, in that space of consciousness to allow it to happen. So how did Jesus go about this? He lifted up and gave thanks. Yeah. So if we refer back to one of the more famous miracles, the feeding of the 5,000, John tells us, Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them. And Matthew says, he looked up to heaven and blessed to me is much the same thing. Blessing and thanks are the same attitude of mind, and broke the loaves. So Jesus did this. Jesus metaphysically went up into his higher consciousness and then gave thanks first, not afterwards. He gave thanks first. And we'll come back to in a moment to what perhaps he was giving thanks for. But also in Matthew, in chapter 11, it says, at that time Jesus said, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and intelligent and have revealed them to infants. My understanding of that is the wise and intelligent are the people, think the clever people, the thinking people using their minds to think clever thoughts. But actually, the real essence of consciousness comes from within our infancy. It comes from the primal aspects of what we are. So this thanking is absolutely what Jesus was all about. It works. This isn't just stuff we talk about. It genuinely works. Henry Thoreau, when he was talking, what I am and have, my thanksgiving is perpetual, ongoing, all the time. An attitude of thankfulness. We're going to come back to that. I open mind and heart to experience the magnificence and magnitude of all that God is. I give thanks in advance. And gratitude is the heart's response to life's infinite blessings. My gratitude expresses as peace, love and joy. So Jesus may have fed the 5,000, which is fantastic, a specific instance of something happening that produced a result, but actually what you get isn't just a one-off thing, it's peace, love and joy. And that's stunning, isn't it? That's what you get for saying thank you. So what is gratitude? If you think about gratitude, then you only say thank you when you've received something, typically. So what you're actually doing is affirming, I've got it. Because you wouldn't say thank you, you hadn't. So if you affirm it in advance, then you're affirming in advance that you've got it. So what was Jesus thanking for? To my mind, irrespective of the miracle he was performing, he wasn't thanking for that miracle. He was thanking for that connection with God, that oneness, that consciousness, that everything flowing through him. He was affirming that flow. That's what he was affirming. And out of that, he and we can do anything. So it's all about an attitude of gratitude. This attitude of gratitude present in our lives, if we live it, then we will get everything we want. And we will get that peace, that joy, that love. It is all there for us. And all we have to do is be grateful in advance.
Thanks so much for listening to this Light and Life podcast. We do hope you will join us again as we continue here at Unity along life's exciting spiritual journey.